You know they're bad for you. Everyone around you knows it. Deep down, you know it yourself. Yet, you can't stay away. You keep going back, again and again. You call it love, chemistry, a special connection. But it's none of those things. It's psychology. And once you understand exactly why your brain is drawn to toxic people, you'll finally understand why leaving is so much harder than it should be. The most dangerous lie about toxic relationships is that only weak or insecure people end up in them. That is completely wrong. Some of the most intelligent, successful, and emotionally aware people on this planet are trapped in toxic relationships right now. This isn't about intelligence. It's less about how your brain was wired for connection long before you were old enough to choose differently. The first reason you're attracted to toxic people is that familiar feels like home, even when home was dangerous. Your brain learned what love looks and feels like from your very first relationships. If those early relationships involved inconsistency, emotional unavailability, criticism, or unpredictability, your brain coded that as what love is supposed to feel like, not because it was healthy, but because it was familiar. And in your brain's primitive wiring, familiar equals safe. So when you meet someone who is stable, consistent, kind, and emotionally available, something feels off. It feels too easy, maybe even boring. You might think something must be wrong with them. But when you meet someone who's inconsistent, hot and cold, emotionally unavailable, and just a little bit dangerous, that feels like home. Your nervous system recognizes it. Your brain says, "This is familiar. This is where I belong." You call it intense chemistry. It's actually pattern recognition, firing on old childhood trauma. It's a deep, powerful, and confusing pull back to a dynamic you've known before. The second reason is intermittent reinforcement, and it's the most powerful psychological trap that exists. Toxic people don't treat you badly all the time. That's the entire point. They treat you wonderfully, then terribly, then wonderfully again. This unpredictable pattern of reward and punishment creates the strongest psychological attachment possible. Research shows that unpredictable rewards create a stronger compulsion than consistent rewards. This is exactly why slot machines are more addictive than predictable games. You never know when the good version of your partner is going to show up. So you stay, you wait, you work harder and harder to bring back that good version. Every moment of kindness feels like you've just won the jackpot, precisely because you had to work so hard for it. Every good day feels more valuable than it actually is, because it followed 10 bad days. This is why people in toxic relationships often describe feeling addicted, because neurologically, they are. The unpredictable kindness releases dopamine in your brain in the exact same pattern as addictive substances. You're not weak for staying. You are chemically dependent on a person who learned, whether they did it consciously or not, how to create that very dependency in you. The third reason you get pulled in is that toxic people are often extraordinarily magnetic at the beginning. Psychologists call this love bombing. It's a tidal wave of intense attention and overwhelming affection. You feel seen and understood like never before. They tell you you're special. You're different from everyone else they've ever met. It feels like you've finally found what you've been looking for your whole life. It feels like the fairy tale relationship you always wanted. But this isn't an accident. Toxic individuals, particularly those with narcissistic traits, are often incredibly skilled at identifying what you need most, and then becoming exactly that. They study you. They mirror you. They make you feel more understood in 3 weeks than you felt your entire life. And by the time the mask inevitably slips and the real dynamic starts to show, you're already deeply attached. You're in love with a person who doesn't actually exist. And you spend the rest of the relationship desperately trying to get that perfect person from the beginning back. The fourth reason is that your self-worth is the real target. Here is what nobody tells you about toxic relationships. They work best on people who have a little something missing in their self-perception. I'm not talking about people who are broken. I'm talking about people who just have a gap. A place where they don't fully believe they deserve better. Maybe you never felt good enough. Maybe you were criticized constantly growing up. Maybe you were taught that true love requires suffering or sacrifice. Toxic people find that gap almost immediately. They don't exploit your strengths. They exploit your self-doubt. They confirm your worst fears about yourself just enough to make you feel like they might be right. And then they offer their acceptance as the solution. They say things like, "I know all your flaws, and I still choose you." This feels incredibly profound. They've made themselves the living proof that you are acceptable, and if they go, that proof goes with them. The fifth reason absolutely destroys people who pride themselves on being logical. Your brain physically cannot think straight when you're in a toxic relationship. The trauma bonding that happens in these dynamics literally changes your brain chemistry. Your stress response is activated constantly. Your cortisol levels stay elevated. Your prefrontal cortex, the rational, logical thinking part of your brain, actually goes offline during these high emotional states. This is why you can see the situation so clearly when you're away from them, but completely lose all perspective the moment they text you or call you. It's not a sign of weakness. It's neuroscience. Your brain, when in the presence of your trauma bond, is physiologically incapable of making the same rational assessments your brain can make when you're calm and away from them. Your friends can see it clearly because their brain chemistry is normal. Yours isn't. You are trying to make life-altering decisions while you are chemically impaired. Here says the final truth that changes everything. Leaving a toxic person is not about loving them less. It's about understanding that what you're feeling isn't love. It's attachment. It's familiarity. It's a trauma bond. It's dopamine cycles. It's the desperate, painful hope that the person who hurt you will somehow become the person who saves you. But real love doesn't require you to lose your mind. Real love doesn't make you smaller. Real love doesn't feel like a constant cycle of addiction and withdrawal. The attraction to toxic people is not a character flaw. It's a deep psychological response to specific conditioning that happened long before you ever met them. Understanding this doesn't excuse their behavior. It frees you from blaming yourself for being trapped. You weren't stupid. You weren't weak. Your brain was doing exactly what it was trained to do. The real question now is, are you ready to retrain it? You were attracted to them because your brain thought that's what love feels like. It was wrong. Subscribe for more psychology that helps you understand yourself, not just other people. And comment below, what was the red flag you ignored at the beginning? Let's talk about it.